Welcome to our Brothers in Conversation podcast, powered by Jesse and Shondell. Shondell, you are from?
Bed-Stuy, Do-or-Die, Brooklyn. That little town.
That's a little town. That's nothing like Hawthorne, Nevada. Population 5,000 cats and dogs. This is podcast number 12, and today is September 19th, 2019, and we're going to be talking about being humble to a fault.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get into some of these other areas about the books and so forth.
Yeah.
But let's just explore that. Humble to a fault.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear that, what does that mean to you? What is that expressing to you? Are you humble to a fault?
You know, I think when you say humble to a fault, are you not sharing information or giving at the attitude because you're trying to not offend people? I think that's humble to a fault. And I'll give you an example, like Tiara, my daughter, she said, "Dad, you can't go around and act like you have done nothing." You know, you can't do that. You can't, because other people need to know, even if it helps them out, even if it helps them to understand that this is the journey that I've taken and you can take that journey. You might be helping somebody, is what she said. You may be inspiring somebody, but your humbleness is depriving someone out there at a chance at life. Maybe somebody's about to give up on life. Maybe somebody's about to quit.
Yeah.
But you're humble to a fault.
Yeah, that's
because
good.
You're trying so hard not to look egotistical.
It's a good point. She's absolutely spot on with what she said. I'm glad that she shared that with you, and then I want to talk to you about how you've made an adjustment or not with that. But first, let's stay with that for a second. You and I. Well, let me speak for myself, and then you speak for yourself, because I likely can speak for you, but I don't need to because you're right here.
Yeah.
But to that point that she says, the one thing that I refuse to be is egotistical, like you said.
Right.
And braggadocious. Because I live from a concept and a theory that says that those that do don't talk, and those that talk don't do.
Right.
Those that have don't talk,
Right.
and those that talk don't have.
Right.
A lot of people talk a big game and talk about this, that, and the other. I'd rather show it in my evidence of what I've done or what I'm doing,
Right.
rather than in just merely my words. So I tend to pull back, and I find myself being more humble, not because I don't want you to know that I've done this, that, and the other, because I'd rather show it
Right.
and let it be relevant to that conversation, that situation, than go around talking about I've done this, I've done that, and I've done that. I never wanted to be that person, and so I believe. But the problem with that is, if we're humble to a fault, not only to Tiara's point that we may be hurting someone that could use that story or that incentive or that motivation or being inspired by something you've done,
Right.
we are also likely hurting potential opportunities for us to do it and serve our livelihood.
Sure.
Let me just say this to you. Do you know let me ask you, are you familiar with the name Tony Robbins?
Yes.
Who is Tony Robbins?
So Tony Robbins, I mean, from my perspective, is a motivational speaker, very confident person. Just based on what I've heard, I haven't really listened to him that much, to be honest. You know?
Right. But so Tony Robbins is the James Brown and the Michael Jackson of the self-help world.
Sure, yeah.
He is that person.
He's elevated to that space. Yeah.
His net worth is over $400 million.
Right.
You know, we do a lot of the exact same stuff that Tony Robbins does.
Yes, absolutely.
And Tony Robbins will tell you how great he is and how great his programs are.
Well, I'll tell you, the other thing that slows me down with that is Christianity, right?
Okay.
I'm a devoted Christian.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm not perfect, so don't get it twisted.
Work under construction.
Right. That's right. All the time.
Yeah.
Especially this dude. That's hard work under construction. But, you know, and we're humble, and this is what I told Tiara many times, is that I didn't know any different but to be a great dad. I wasn't looking at it as
you made that choice.
I made that choice.
And you lived into that choice.
Yes.
It wasn't an option for you.
Right, exactly.
Many people that choose it as an option are not.
Yeah, they say, hey, you know what? I remember even being criticized, right?
Oh, for sure.
And I think one of the things that I've been more comfortable of it is being criticized for decisions that are made, because of the information that I have. So my father, you know, when I was a teenage father, and my ex-wife back then, my girlfriend in high school, was pregnant, my father said this: "Hey, you know, it's not the end of the world. You just have to be a great dad, right?" So we walked around the block a few times. He's like, "Look, you're gonna be scared, you're gonna be nervous, but guess what? We're here for you." That changes everything, right? Because like I said, if 80% of the black households are without fathers, I can imagine how that goes the other way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I heard it.
For sure.
That girl trapped my baby.
Right.
What's she doing what's she doing getting pregnant?
Right.
But trap you in what? You're a teenager. What can you offer?
Right.
Right? It's just
very little.
Very
You're
little.
Still learning.
You're still learning.
You got your whole life in front of you.
But I never thought it was a big deal that I took care of my children in high school. I never thought it was a big deal I took care of them when their mom left when I was 22 years old.
Because you knew that was your role.
That
you
was my
accepted
role.
that as your role. You accepted responsibility.
Right. So no sense.
Right?
Yeah. So why brag, right?
Yeah.
And then, but she's saying, "You're not bragging, Dad. You might be helping another
in the same situation that doesn't know how to do that doesn't know how to make that choice."
Right.
So I like that. That's really good.
Yeah.
So we're going to tag team back and forth with this. So going back to the Tony Robbins thing. So Tony Robbins, he takes the stage. He speaks from the stage, right? Mm-hmm. We take the stage. We speak from the stage. Mm-hmm. He speaks for his own organization, and all people come to him. We typically speak for other organizations. We're doing some on our own now too, but we speak for other organizations.
Right.
He coaches executives and entrepreneurs and celebrities and so forth and so on. We have coached celebrities.
Right.
We coach entrepreneurs. We coach leaders.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
He reads a lot of books and he writes books.
Right.
We read a lot of books and we write books.
Right.
What is the difference, do you think, between, and his style, I'll tell you, Tony Robbins has a unique style. He's verbose, he's big voice. His voice is almost hoarse all the time because he screams all the time.
Right. Right.
He doesn't realize it, but at some point his voice is going to say,
"Sure,
I'm out."
Right.
Because he thrashes his voice.
Yeah.
I take care of my voice because I had a situation happen where I lost my voice.
Yeah.
I booked 3 speaking engagements too close to one another, and they were all-day engagements.
Right.
And after the 3rd day, my voice says, "We're out.
We're done." Right.
And I lost it for 18 weeks.
Yeah. It's like any other muscle.
It was scary.
Yeah.
I didn't. Anyway, with all that being said, Tony's a more verbose, in-your-face kind of guy,
Right.
even in his style.
That's the style. Yeah.
I prefer a style of finesse.
Sure.
That's just my preference. I mean,
Right.
it fits me better to finesse it on you.
Yeah.
But what other than our actual character differences in style, we're doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest difference between Tony Robbins and Jesse Farrell or Jess Todd?
You know, I don't honestly, I don't see much difference, and I'm gonna tell you why I don't see much difference. I think that your substance and style is one of the reasons why we became friends.
And this was one. If I was Tony Robbins, if I was Tony Robbins style, we wouldn't be friends.
Right. No, exactly.
Because I would be all up in your face all the time.
Yeah,
and you'd be like, "Who's this guy up in my face? I don't know you." Right?
Yeah, and even before I got to really know you, right? And many people don't know this,
right?
But I'll give this audience in podcast world and everything this is that I read your book, I watched you speak. I saw it was coming from a place of being genuine.
It was integrity.
It was all integrity.
Yeah.
It's all integrity with me.
Yeah.
I'm a people watcher.
And
I was that kid that was
attractive.
Yeah.
You were attracted to it. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
He didn't just write that book.
Right.
He lives that book.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, it's interesting as a kid. You know, we as kids in New York, we ride the subway, right? And we have nothing to do but either read a book or watch people.
Or shenanigans.
Right. Well, yeah, I wasn't much into shenanigans.
But a lot of kids do because it's the
I was that person that watched people.
Right.
I watched people. I watched the guy who came on begging for change.
Guess what? That's what I have always done as well.
Yeah.
I've always watched people.
But can you imagine?
Even as a little person.
But can you imagine being on a 1 hour train ride and people are coming and people are going? And you're seeing all different type of cultures. You're seeing white, you're seeing Italian, you're seeing everybody, right?
It's the Rainbow Coalition.
So what I did is, what I noticed is, and this is why I have a hard time with most people. What I noticed is a family comes onto the subway. There's a mom, a dad, kids. Another family comes on, mom, a dad, kids. Aside from their color, and their culture, they are typically the same.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I 100% agree.
Mhm.
Let me tag on to what you're saying. I've said this before, and I get some objection when I say this. At the end of the day, we're all one people,
Yeah.
and we're all actually
Mhm.
living the same lives.
Right. Right.
To the point you just said, and here's what I say to that, Chandel. And it's on a pendulum.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're all at different places on that pendulum.
Mhm.
And by the way, when I call it a pendulum, life is not all forward,
Right.
or backwards, backwards, backwards for everybody. Life is typically a roller coaster ride, and it's
Mhm.
forwards and backwards. So that's why I call it a pendulum.
Right.
So at the end of the day, we're all on that pendulum living
Mhm.
this thing called life. So at the end of the day, we're all one people,
Yeah.
and we're all seeking to do the same thing.
Yeah.
You know why? Because it's in the hardwire, it's in
Mhm.
the biology. We're all seeking to, at the base level, survive.
Right.
And what does that take? That takes food
Mm-hmm.
to survive,
Mm-hmm.
everyone.
Right.
That takes domicile that you can call your safe place, your
Mhm.
sanctuary, your home,
Right.
your apartment, your space.
Mm-hmm.
You need that
Right.
to feel protected from the predators
Mhm.
because they're out there.
Right.
And sex for procreation.
Mm-hmm.
That's hardwired into all of us. The only people that's not healthy in are the people that are mentally unhealthy in some way. And some of that may be disturbed.
It's a lot.
But so that's the only exception.
Right.
Other than that, we're all living the same lives. We're just
Mhm.
at different points on the pendulum.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah, yeah, and based on your experience and based on your limitations, right? And that's what
Well,
we
they
were talking about
affect.
before.
You say based on. I say that affects what that
Oh, yeah.
pendulum swing
Yeah.
looks like. But at the end of the day, we're all seeking to do the same things.
Yeah, we're all seeking, but the thing that limits us is our perspectives.
100%.
Right.
Our perspectives, our thoughts,
Right.
which is connected to perspectives.
Yeah.
Our actions.
Yeah. So when you talk about like what I was talking about before we came on air was like, okay, first of all, being your humility to me is impacted by what your attitude is. around different
100%.
things, right?
100%.
So me going and working in gaming or going in the military, the military to me, the things we were doing was not a big deal because I was doing my job.
No, but because you were following orders.
I was following
It
orders.
was bigger than
But
doing your job.
And here's the crazy thing, and I think when I shared this with you before, is that we were playing war games with video games. That was the new technology, whether it was drone or stealth or whatever. We were playing games. We couldn't talk about what we were doing anyway because it was all top secret stuff.
Right.
So it was no big deal. But even when I went to stations, because we were working on new technology with the boarding pass
Sure.
program, ticket in, ticket out, penny games, whatever, it wasn't. It was one of those things where we were just doing something, but it wasn't as big a deal till you reflect.
Right.
So my humility was not necessarily intentional sometimes. It was just that until I reflected, I didn't know the impact. I didn't know the impact of the boarding pass program until one day I walked into Green Valley Ranch with my wife and said, "Oh shoot!" She was asking some questions of a tech, a slot tech,
Sure.
and I said, "Dang, I could answer those questions
Right.
because I was part of the team that created the tech."
So you said that your humility was not intentional.
Right.
What I believe you're saying, let me just check for understanding, is that you're saying that as a natural or native, early in the game, native sense, humility was inside of you.
Right.
And so at this advanced level,
Yeah.
you didn't purposefully say, I'm going to move with humility. It was already part of the character of who you
already
are.
part of it, yeah. It was
Okay.
part of the upbringing in the Christian world and saying, hey, be humble, but do God's work hard. It was just part of what I did.
Okay, fair
all
enough.
the time.
And part of who you were becoming as well.
Exactly.
So I like that. So that's a good point. So as I flip back, I'm going to close on the Tony Robbins. And the question was, what is the difference between Jesse Farrell and Jess Talk,
Mm-hmm.
Lisa Farrell, what they do?
Mhm.
What's the difference between what we do
Mm-hmm.
and what Tony does? If you look at his materials, if you look at our materials, there's a lot of crossover.
Mhm.
There's a lot of same language,
Sure.
same motivation and
Right.
inspiration. There's a lot of that.
Right.
But there's one single difference.
What's that?
400 million net worth.
Yeah. But yeah.
400 million net worth. That's the
Mhm.
difference between Tony Robbins and Jesse Farrell.
Right.
He's got it.
Right.
We don't.
Right.
You know why? Because he's blown through this thing called humility. He doesn't. He's brash,
Mm-hmm.
over the top,
Mm-hmm.
speaks what he thinks in his face,
Mhm.
tells you how great he is, and
Sure.
on and on and on. Has built systems and processes
Yeah.
and tools. I must learn to realize that my humility, being humble to a fault, is costing not just us.
Right.
You know what? You know what the biggest cost is? You have faith, and I have faith. I believe that in my faith, that I, as part of my expression of who I am becoming, is a custodian of wealth.
Okay.
I can't get what I don't have.
Right. Well, and here,
right?
Yeah. No, it's
if I'm a custodian of wealth, I need to figure out how to switch up my game and add facets to my game and step above that humility. Because the fault is, I will give it away. When we earn it, we will find the right places of people that don't have the avenues or don't have the mindset, or doesn't have the structure, or don't have the tools, and we're going to find a way to fund those circumstances, not putting my name on it. It's not what it's about. It's about being a custodian of wealth. Right. I'm not saying Tony Robbins is or isn't, but I'm saying the difference between Tony Robbins, other than personality, is $400 million in net worth.
So, and I'll say from my perspective is you can get there, you can be there,
right?
But I don't think you have to necessarily alter or change who you are. I just think that you have to get more people out there to attach to that same spirit the same way I did.
I agree.
Right. So I learned from one of my mentors. Let's say you get 1 million people, who are Jesse Farrell's fans.
Sure.
Right. And once they get to know Jesse Farrell.
Sure.
And they each give you $1.
Sure.
And then you get 400 of those people. You're there, right? I think with people, sometimes even with people like Tony Robbins, he's brash, but he's having those people who are looking for some sort of a savior. They're looking they're looking for somebody to inspire them. I think we inspire organically
in a different fashion,
right?
Yeah.
And so here's where our mistake is. It's not necessarily changing who we are. It's what Lisa's been telling us a long time, right?
Yeah.
We don't share. You and I, we go on about our business. We're coaching, we're mentoring, we're doing that, but we're not sharing. And up until this point with Brothers in Conversation, we weren't sharing that.
None of that,
right?
None of that.
The difference is, I think he has shared that.
Okay.
He has really, really shared that to multitudes of people, where you and I had to be forced.
Yes. Still. Not
still. By Tierra.
No,
Lisa.
No, Shardell, stop it.
Oh, yeah, still.
It ain't had to be.
Still.
It is have to be.
Right.
Had and have.
Right.
And I want to bring Lisa in two things. Lisa's giving me something to share, but also, before I share that, we just had an incredible event at Sierra Nevada Corporation, SNC. And there were 18 of their top their executive admins, and we did we call it REACH Leadership Program. REACH is an acronym standing for responsibility, engagement, accountability, connection, and our how you lead them feeling concept.
Gotcha.
We tie that together, and then we bring in color code, which is a personality science, and we color code that crew, and we bring those two together.
Right.
Incredible program. And on the first break, one of the executive admins comes up, and she is so exuberant, she's so excited. I want Lisa to step in. Lisa, step in and tell us what that lady said. This is so cool about what she was receiving and how she felt before she got there.
Okay.
She said, "Why doesn't the world know about Jesse? Why isn't he Tony Robbins? The world needs more of Jesse."
And say what she said about how she felt before she came to that event.
She did not want to come to the event. She goes, "Oh, it's another training. It's another day that I could be getting so much more accomplished." And she said at the end of the event, she said it was a wow, and it went like, she said, I could do another 2 or 3 days with this man like that.
A person that did not want to come to the event.
Right.
So thank you for Lisa.
But see, that's what I'm saying. I think.
But that stuff is that's what you and I strive for. That we're focused on affecting people. We're focused on being a difference maker. We're focused on having an impact and inspiring and that sort of stuff. We're not focused on look how great I am.
Right. No, it's a fact. And the thing is, though, is we're so focused on that. And I would say this, we're so focused on that we're not sharing that.
Right.
We're not sharing what Lisa just shared, right? That's what Tierra was saying. Tierra saying, Dad, I got people who are sending emails, calling you, begging to meet. Listen, the issue is that we're thinking we're happy with that response.
Right.
Right.
Oh, gratified.
We're not looking to capitalize monetarily on this person's pain and suffering.
If it wasn't for this program, I would have never even mentioned it.
That's my point. See, that's my
I
point.
would have never mentioned it.
We
have countless.
Yeah.
We have countless case studies like that.
Sure.
You know, Lisa says she's got a comment on humility,
Mhm.
and I want to hear what that is. What's that comment? Someone
Mhm.
on Facebook is commenting on
Okay.
humility. So Lisa's going to
Sure.
share that.
Dillard Allen Scott.
Oh yeah, I know Dylan.
Humility often can keep us in a neutral state of mind, leaving us unable to shift to where we need to be. We can't become complacent with progressing without exposing ourselves to the elements of life.
Can they hear you?
I was Lisa, do me a favor. Bring that over and take my space and say it into the mic because that's big.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna spin off that. This is Dylan Allen Scott. Somebody you know? Should I know?
Yeah, I know Dylan. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he actually said hi, Jesse.
Oh, hey there, Dylan.
Okay, so humility often. Okay, hang on. Humility often can keep us in a neutral state of mind, leaving us unable to shift to where we need to be. We can't become complacent with progressing without exposing ourselves to the elements of life.
Yeah.
Shonda, would you join me in a standing round of applause for Dylan?
Great job, Dylan.
Yeah.
And I'm
he's
glad.
spot on with that because
Yeah.
he's saying if you and I don't shift, we're hurting ourselves,
Yeah.
we're hurting our progress, and we're hurting the
Jesse,
potential of others.
Jesse, listen again. That is not uncommon, though. I want everybody.
When you
to
say
understand.
uncommon with us or common in
It's
the
not
world?
uncommon. Oprah, from what I understood, and when we were at this conference or whatever, one of Oprah's, I guess manager or something, said that she was happy with having a show.
Of course.
Right? I came from here in Chicago to having a talk show that rivaled with Johnny Carson, with
Right.
Dave, with Donahue, all those.
Yeah.
She was on the big stage.
Yeah, big time.
For all intents purposes, she made it.
And she was actually told before she was on that big stage that she didn't have the right look,
Right.
and
See?
that she wasn't never
Yeah.
going to be worthy to be on the screen. She was
Exactly.
told you're not worthy of this.
Exactly. So we have that natural ability to converse and talk to, but we don't think it's a big deal. We
No,
don't think
because
it's a
we're
big
focused
deal.
on the practice and the
Right.
continued elevation of
Right.
it.
So we need other people. Like,
Always.
And it's funny because
Like Dillard.
like Dillard, right. Or like Alexis. Like
Yeah.
until Alexis came to some new marketing, I was sitting back, Tiara was like, Dad, we gotta get you this.
Okay.
But Alexis, an intern from UNLV came in.
I just met her, and I
Yeah.
dig that little woman
Yeah,
too.
she came in and she said, "Oh my God!" She read through all of this material for forever, and she said, "Oh my God!"
Do you know what you have here?
Right, and guess what happened, Jesse?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
She said that day when I went to speak at UNLV, she was like, ho hum, another day. And then I spoke, and then she immediately emailed me and said, could she come intern?
Can I be it?
Didn't ask for a paycheck. Didn't ask for a paycheck.
Yeah.
When we offered her, hey, we got a program that can, no worries, I just want to be here.
Wow.
I just want to soak this up.
Lisa's right. We need that.
And then when she read it,
You tell
she
Alexa we need
goes,
that.
oh yeah, she was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying, oh my God, what?
So to your point, we need others.
Yeah.
So let's go backwards a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take you a Canadian. Okay. Anthony Ciccone.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a corporate American, I was struggling. I never told him I was struggling, but he could see it. Very intuitive guy.
Mhm.
Highly intelligent, great family, the Ciccone family, by way of Rome.
Mm-hmm.
They've lived in Canada all their lives.
Yeah.
The kids, second generation.
Yeah, in Canada, I just talked to a guy from Toronto, and Canada is probably one of the most diverse places. People have no idea.
Let me just tell you. Let me just say this to you. If it wasn't for the Ciccone family,
Mm-hmm.
first, Vittorio Ciccone was my casino marketing client.
Okay.
He introduced me to his sons,
Mm-hmm.
which were Sal, Rob, and Anthony.
Okay.
Okay. And then Anthony and Rob and Sal introduced me to their son. I'm third generation in the Ciccone serving the Ciccones now.
Right on.
But let's go back to Anthony. So Anthony's
So you Jesse Ciccone?
yeah. Just call me Jesse Ciccone. I'm speaking with my hands, aren't I?
I got you.
So check it out. Really, really fast story, really
Mhm.
short. Anthony comes to the Rio and he sees me in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, Jess, I've been watching you. He says, you're better with people than you think you are.
Okay.
He says, I've watched you handle my father. Nobody handles my father like you.
Okay.
I've watched you handle other people.
Mm-hmm.
He says, nobody handles people like you. He says, I know, I can see something's going on with you, and if and I believe you're struggling. He says, you need to consider shifting your field of reference in terms of what you do,
Mm-hmm.
where you're closer connected with being a difference maker in people's lives, because you made a difference in my life and in my family's life.
Right.
I thought he was full of it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't believe him,
Okay.
because no one had ever told me that. To your point, we need other people. Then I pick up another Canadian, Brian Tracy, his book, Action Strategies for Personal Achievement.
Right.
And Brian says, if you do not know your best gifts and talents, ask 15 people that know you well, because they know them even if you don't.
Right.
So I took Anthony's one, and I added 14 more, and they all said the same thing that Anthony was saying.
Right.
I never knew that.
Right.
So sometimes we do need other people to
Yes.
help,
I think
to your point.
this happens all the time.
Right, John Bradley out of Oregon, amazing guy, just a great businessman, entrepreneur, super family man, great father, dedicated, a wonderful friend. This guy is just, he's the full package.
Right.
When I was writing the book, John Bradley says, and he knew I was writing, he says, yes, so, he said, how are you gonna get that published? I go, I'm really not sure.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me 3 times. On the 4th time, he suggests, do me a favor, on Wednesday, clear your calendar. He says, I'm gonna fly the Learjet down,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm taking you to dinner.
Okay.
And we're going to have a conversation about how you're going to publish. So I go, okay. So he flies down. I meet him at MGM, and he before we sit down, he gives me a check.
Mm-hmm.
He hands a check to me for $10,000.
Okay.
He says, I'm giving you this check to help you publish the book, How You Leave Them Feeling,
Mm-hmm.
because the world needs that message, and you're the best person to give it. He says, and here's why I'm doing it.
Sure.
I'm giving this to you. He says, yeah, it'd be great if the book makes millions. That's great, but if it only makes $1,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care.
Right.
I'm giving this to you because of what you've done to help me and my family over the years.
There you go. Yeah.
4 people did the same thing
Mm-hmm.
that I never asked.
Yeah.
I never asked them. They came to me and said, so How You Leave Them Feeling got published, and I used the $40,000, actually $44,000 because one gave me 14,
Mm-hmm.
to publish it, and I paid all of them back within that first year
There you
from
go.
the book sales.
Yeah.
Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your thoughts about that when you're talking about humility.
Well, again, it goes back to the fact that we are horrible at promoting ourselves, right? Because we don't
And
believe
that's got to change.
Yeah. Well, again, that's the but see, the issue is more than that's got to change. We got to have other people promote us, just like you just said.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately for us, we are ingrained in that humility.
Funny.
We don't see it as a big deal.
Funny, you're spot on. Lisa and I
Yeah.
had a conversation. We've got a brilliant client out of San Jose, California, that he so believes in the power of what we can do
Mhm.
that we're serving his account. He has accounting from his partner.
Yeah.
It's Scott and Bob. They're the partners. They have clients that they want to feel the power of what we do because
Yeah.
we're doing it for them.
Yeah.
Yesterday we had a phone call, and he was saying, Jess, let me champion this cause. Let me cut this deal. Let me work this out. He's asking me, can
Right.
I do what you're telling me we need to let people
But see,
do?
this is why what Alexis was telling you guys yesterday is that's why Tiara created the Some New Solutions Zone.
Okay.
Because she wants to galvanize all of these people.
Right.
So because we have these one-offs. You
Tell
just
us
said,
about that.
You have these we have these one-off conversations, like you just said. You're talking to this person, that person, that
Right.
person. What if in a LinkedIn or Facebook scenario, you have all of these people experiencing the same thing at the same time?
Right.
Imagine if 1 million people are experiencing that same thing at the same time. Imagine if 10 million people are experiencing that same thing at the same time. So what Tiara created was the Some New Solution Zone. So this way, everybody can experience the same thing. Because what used to happen for me is I have a classroom that can only hold 28 people.
Right.
Jess, we always sell out.
Right.
You saw it, next
Yep,
level.
full, yep,
Right?
yep.
Full. Boots to Business, full. Whatever these classes, they're full.
Right.
But that's only 30 people.
Right.
So imagine if 1 million people are
Right.
tuning in at the same time, getting the same message, and then they have a dialogue back and forth saying exactly what you just said. The problem is, the difference is that Tony Robbins and those guys may have more people
Sure.
engaged in
Much.
talking about them.
Yeah.
Oprah had a television show
Right.
where it blossomed, then a network,
Right.
and now Weight Watchers, and now blah blah blah.
Right.
But they have a platform.
Right.
Jay-Z has his record label, and he has his own streaming service, whatever. So he has all of these ways to show people or
Right.
connect with people.
Right.
Beyonce release, people have those. With Jess and Shondell, the humility piece, and probably, what Dillard is talking about is we have not tapped into those resources.
Not at all.
Does that
We're
make
just,
sense?
yeah, we're literally on the outside looking
Yeah.
through the window.
So that's some
And
solution zone. right?
Lisa Farrell's been asking me to step
Forever.
my game up in this
Yeah.
since I've known her.
Yeah, she told us everybody has to hear us, right?
That's right. She's the one that she's the godmother of all of this.
Yeah. And so and Tiara's been telling me for years. So she said, "Hey, Dad, I want to create an online portal
Mm-hmm.
where people can come in and experience you on a regular basis,
Mhm.
because you can't meet with all those people.
Right.
You can't do the old school call Frankie.
That's right.
Call Frankie, meet
That's
with
right.
him, because then everybody's sitting there for 30
But you
45
can
minutes.
touch them in volume.
Yes.
You can touch
That's
them in
exactly what
mass.
she's talking about.
Yeah, and she's spot on.
Yes.
Tiara's spot on.
Yeah.
And Lisa,
Mhm.
again, okay, I'm gonna talk about Lisa in a second, and
Mhm.
Tiara, bring me back to the stash. I
Mhm.
know someone depart.
All right.
Luther Vandross said it best.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone needs someone else to help
Don't get me
champion
singing,
their
man.
cause.
I did Teddy for you. trying to con me into doing Luther. Come on, dude.
Give me some Luther. Dude.
Little Luther.
That was good. No, that was good. That was good. That was a lighter moment in the program.
Oh, yeah.
We like to have temperature gauges.
Oh,
on
yeah,
our
we
program.
had some fun with
But
this.
Luther said it.
Yeah.
Luther said
Mhm.
everybody needs someone else to help champion their cause.
Yes.
When he said that, I rewound it.
That's true.
And he was on the BET
Mhm.
program, and they were interviewing,
Mhm.
and super short. But this is so important where that came from.
That was good.
The interviewer was going to tell Luther
Mhm.
about the times he'd been booed off the stage at the Apollo, and Luther says, "Before you get into that,
Mhm.
let's get this straight. I was not booed off the Apollo stage 4 times."
Right.
He says 4 times I competed, and 4 times I did not win.
Right.
Because there was a group before me
Mhm.
that performed,
Mhm.
and they were imitating the Temptations. And every time that one singer would hit that low note like Melvin,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
you know the Melvin.
Oh yeah, with Melvin does Papa was a rose.
Yeah. Every time you would hit that, there he goes. Everything.
That was a rose. Oh, this was a long.
Right. Yeah. Right on the Shondell doing what Luther had to face.
But you know, the part was this. And Mama, some folks go around town talking about
Right.
children and another
Right.
why.
Yeah.
And that ain't right.
Right. That's right. Yeah, that's it. And the beat goes on.
Right. There you go.
Right.
That's it.
So Luther, that guy would hit that note, and he said the crowd would go nuts.
Yep.
So you couldn't beat it.
No.
And he said, but what that taught him was careers like this
Mhm.
was nothing more than a series of rejections. And this was a test to his conviction, am I going to keep practicing my gift even amongst all this rejection?
Right.
He says, no matter who you are,
Yep.
everybody needs someone else
Mhm.
to help champion their cause.
And who was
That's a
his
fact.
champion?
Luther Vandross' champion was
yeah,
Dionne
yeah,
Warwick,
Dionne Warwick.
Roberta Flack,
Yeah.
and David Bowie.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that championed him.
Mhm.
Roberta Flack, they were on tour. Roberta
Mhm.
Flack said, Luther, because he was doing backup singing for him.
Right.
Said, Luther, I want you to warm up the mic, get everything all set. I got to go do interviews.
Yeah.
So when she left, the room was dark. Luther said he started crooning every one of Roberta
Yeah.
Flack's top hits. And he said he was just doing it. And there was nobody, it was a dark room.
Mm-hmm.
He said the lights came on and she was sitting in the front row.
Right.
And she said, Luther, I am lovingly firing you.
Mm-hmm.
You were getting way too good to be behind me singing oohs and ahs.
Exactly.
That's what happened.
Oh yeah.
So she took him to get his first record deal. When he got there, the guy said, where'd you find him?
Yeah.
And Luther had mentioned that he'd been there before. Well, who'd you speak to that didn't sign? He said, no, I'm not getting anybody in trouble. And David Bowie, he was at his friend's, was at the studio, and his friend was a guitarist for David Bowie, and he was playing, And Luther said, that's good, but it's missing a hook. He says, what do you mean? And Luther did what give me another Luther. Do a Luther.
Let's see, a chair is still a chair.
There we go.
Even when there's no one sitting there.
There it is. Luther did his thing. Luther did his thing. And David Bowie was 3 flights up, dropped down and said, you have got an angelic voice.
Yeah.
Do that again. Luther did it again. He says, how would you like to sing background on this track?
Mm-hmm.
He says, if you put my name on the album, I'll do it.
Right.
See, back then, the background singers didn't get credit.
Exactly.
And
Well,
that's who championed his cause.
I'll tell you a funny, even similar story. If you ever listen to Bubba Knight, and I told Craig that he has to do Bubba's interviews on KCP again. Bubba Knight, the Pip from Gladys Knight,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So he's Gladys' older brother,
Sure.
and Craig's dad. And I listened to his interview, and he said it was them that first heard the Jacksons sing. They heard Michael sing, and they
Right.
were like, whoa.
Right.
But because Gladys was new to the label, they didn't feel like they had the clout to say, hey, y'all ought to sign this boy right here.
Right.
They did, eventually say, wow, this kid is good.
Right.
The family is good. They're great. But to imagine that people had to champion the Jacksons.
Absolutely.
Right.
Everybody
People-
needs someone else to champion their
Yeah.
cause. So Tiara is championing your cause. What's this called again?
Some New Solutions.
Some New Solution Zone. Tiara is championing your cause.
Yeah.
Lisa is championing our cause with the Breakthrough Success Plan.
Yeah.
Lisa says, you've got all this knowledge.
Mhm.
How do we get this out to the world? So Lisa Farrell connected with Lisa Olshafer, who is another master coach and speaker and author,
Right.
and who was just at a pivotal point in her space, in her life, and her professionalism.
Yeah.
Lisa Farrell was aware of that, brought us to lunch.
Mhm.
We now have a first class
Mhm.
Breakthrough Success Plan,
Yeah.
which is it's an online course that offers people the intelligence that we've gained all over.
Yeah.
And we lock this into 3 distinct pillars:
Mhm.
signature branding,
Yeah.
leadership development, and opportunity creation. And this is designed to help people break through to success. And
Right.
I'm telling you,
Right.
this program is on his sheet. This is our one-to-many program because now we get to serve more people.
Right.
Now, here's the thing: there's a weekly strategy call, like your Solution Zone stuff.
Yep.
And
Same thing, yeah.
And so that's where I learned from a guy by the name of Mark.
Mhm.
This term I shared with you yesterday.
Mhm.
Through that Solution Zone, the Breakthrough Success Plan strategy sessions,
Mhm.
people are going to gain community IQ.
Yeah. Well, and you know why that's great?
Because it's beyond you.
Yes, and the community IQ also is enhanced by our intervention, right? So,
Right.
so when you think about this, is like what Tiara built the basis on everything that I've written, every blog that I've done, every time that I'm challenging the world of marketing, because
Right.
marketing has become so watered down. It's not what it's supposed to be.
Right.
And when I was teaching a workshop yesterday, that was what Alexis captured. She said, you talk about internet marketing in its totality,
Right.
where people go to where they are comfortable.
Right.
They'll talk about building a website because they're comfortable in that space.
That's what they
They'll
know.
talk about SEO because they're comfortable in that space. They'll talk about email marketing, but they will never talk about how all of that works together.
Right.
Because shrimp over here is shrimp. Okra over here is okra.
Right.
Rice over here is rice. Crab over here is crab. But when you put it all together, it's gumbo, and it
Right.
tastes different.
Right.
Right? That's what people don't understand about marketing. My brain works where it's like, I always say it's like baking a perfect marketing cake.
Sure.
Right? My grandmother used to say, I said, Grandma, how did you make that cake that tastes so good?
Right.
Everybody else's is crunchy,
Right.
or it's flat, or has no flavor. How did you make it? Well, baby, I took a cup of this, a pinch of this, a little bit of this, and a little bit of that.
Right. Right.
And when she put it together, you would be like, OMG. No frosting, no icing, no sprinkles, just the cake. It was the most delicious cake you ever tasted. See, what people don't realize is that that's how I view marketing, right? if your marketing is flat, it doesn't taste the same.
Right.
So you're not going to another
Right.
level.
Right.
You're stuck.
Right.
But you're satisfied because that's your limitation.
And that's what you know.
And that's what you know. So you're satisfied. You're like, oh, this is cool.
Which is why you're not satisfied, because you're always seeking for other attributes to this ingredient to keep spicing up your marketing cake.
Yeah. Your marketing cake
Yeah.
has to be, it has to be the most delicious thing that somebody tastes, because that's what keeps them coming.
And that's what they remember. Exactly.
And that's
well
what they remember.
said.
And
That's right.
that's how you leave them feeling.
That is how you leave
Food
them feeling.
is a feeling
Yes,
thing.
it is
right?
very much so.
It is not it is taste,
It
but
can-
it's a feeling.
It can even cause an addiction.
Even
Even if you don't like Lay's potato chip,
right.
if you eat one, have you ever tried to stop eating one after you take a bite of Lay's
sunflower
potato
seeds,
chip?
man. I'm through the bag and I'm looking like, what the heck happened? You got all this junk around,
Right.
you got stuff all over your face. You don't. But that's our point, right?
Yeah,
Is that you and I have been so humble.
right.
And we've been told, like Lisa kept saying, oh well, you guys gotta get together, you gotta do this podcast, you gotta
We
guys
heard it,
share.
but we didn't.
But we were
weren't
sitting there like,
really
okay,
listening.
yeah, all right, I ain't a little cute girl, but we're going
Right,
what
right.
we gotta do.
Actually, we listened, but we didn't hear it.
right.
Finally, she got both of our attention.
She's like, listen, you
Right.
sit down and listen.
She had to raise her voice.
Yeah, she had to get like Big Mama, right?
And she did. In fact, we were at
Hence, Lisa, listen.
right. Yeah, that's right. We were over in the mid side of town, close to the airport, and we were having a meeting. That's when she had
Coffee.
to raise her voice.
We were at a coffee
Yeah,
shop.
at a coffee shop.
Mhm.
But I want to segue into this. You brought these books. Say these titles really quickly. And
Oh,
let's
yeah,
let's
yeah.
have this conversation about, because this is a tie-in. This is
Yeah.
an additional tie-in.
So one of the things is throughout my life, I've read many books. These are just a few.
Okay.
Post-traumatic slave syndrome helps me to understand the conditions that create some of the barriers
Okay.
of not only me, but the African American community and myself, whatever.
Okay.
I'll give you one quick example.
Okay.
My grandmother, very, very light-skinned, like Alina Horn.
Okay.
She said she was too white to be black.
By the way, so was my grandmother on my mother's side.
Oh, wow.
Same
Look
thing.
there.
Same thing on my mother's side.
See how we are?
Hartwell.
And too black to be white. White men wanted to see her in secrecy.
Of course.
Black men wanted to exploit her because of her light color.
Right.
So
But let me-
interesting slave syndrome talks about those light and dark skin things. So one thing I'll just tell you before you say this is that when I was born, one thing that my mother said that my grandmother made sure that happened, because I'm dark. She said, I want you to understand one thing. You are so special because of that dark, beautiful complexion. It made other people think I was conceited, but that was because my grandmother told
She
me.
knew the alternative.
She knew what was going to happen.
Let me sneak in there with you on this.
Mhm.
So that for people that are listening that may not understand in depth of what Shondel's saying,
Mhm.
in our culture, just like in our world,
Mhm.
our culture does things that they don't speak a lot to it,
Right.
but they do make a difference between light-skinned black people and dark-skinned black people.
Right.
I don't know if it's still around. I don't
Mhm.
even care if it's still around, but they used to have a club called the Brown Paper Bag Club. And the Brown Paper Bag Club, if your skin was lighter than a brown paper bag, you were allowed in the club.
Yep.
And if it wasn't, then you weren't allowed in.
Yep.
And black people will say that light-skinned black people are better
Yeah.
than dark-skinned black people.
Exactly.
It's in our culture, and
Yeah.
you get stigmatized if you're one of a dark-skinned person. In my family, my brothers and sisters, there are 4 dark-skinned like me and
Mhm.
4 lighter-skinned like your grandmother.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't draw lines. I shouldn't say that. We do tease one another, which is a way of exploiting that as well.
Sure.
But in our own society and culture,
Mhm.
we make a delineation difference between light-skinned black people and dark-skinned black people. I think people need to know that. They may not know that.
No, they don't know that. And what's funny is CNN did a little test with kids. Remember,
Mhm.
they did a test with baby dolls.
Right.
If you remember that, once CNN did this, and I forgot what it was. It was what's that lady's name? I can't remember her name. But anyway, they did a test with the white doll and the black doll.
Right.
And the kids who were black kids thought the white doll was the prettiest doll.
Right.
Right? And so this was ingrained in slavery.
Right.
It was done in
spoken
slavery.
about in this
And
book.
they talk about it, post-traumatic slave syndrome by Dr. Joy DeGruy. She is phenomenal.
Yep,
if you ever get a
please.
chance to listen to her speak, go to YouTube, pick her up. She is phenomenal because she breaks it down. Now, her breakdown is not to agitate or annoy us.
To help you understand.
It's to help us
And
understand.
there's a phenomena underneath that we don't talk about.
Yeah, she does a great job of talking about that. Because in the same thing, everybody thought I married or was in love with Arlene because of her skin tone.
Right.
And I said, no, I actually fell in love with Arlene before I really even knew what she looked like.
Right.
Right? So that's where people have to understand the difference.
You know what I like about what you just said?
Mhm.
There was a gentleman, I won't name names because I didn't get the permission to do this, but that's okay. I get to tell a story.
Yeah.
Just related to your story. We had this couple over our home a number of months ago. And it's a light-skinned black man
Mm-hmm.
with a Caucasian woman.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sitting across the bar, and he looked at me, and we had gone to dinner. Great connection between the four of us. And he looks at me and he says to me, he says, Jess, how do you feel about being in an interracial relationship?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that? And how do you manage that? I said, I don't.
I knew you would say that.
You could have been.
I knew you would say that.
I
I could have finished your sentence.
I said, I don't.
And
He
this,
said,
yeah.
he said, what? He was perplexed. He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
He said, what?
Yeah.
I said, I don't.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't say anything, so no, his mind was like, because he had respect for me, but he's thinking,
Yeah.
should I maintain the respect or is this guy retarded?
No, and I'll tell you,
Because was he?
I had a similar experience I remember when Tiara was getting married, and she posted her engagement photo or whatever, and somebody said, "How do you feel about your daughter marrying a white guy?" I said, "He's not white, he's Irish." Right? So they were like, they had the same look, like, what?
Right, so dig
So what are you
this.
saying?
Right, so the guy says, and he was perplexed. Really bright, intelligent guy. He was perplexed.
Yeah.
He was completely, because he had such respect for me. And when I said that, he wanted to drop me to the bottom because it was a ridiculous comment.
Yeah.
But he couldn't because he had so much respect.
Yeah.
So he was perplexed.
Mm-hmm.
So I explained.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I see myself
Mm-hmm.
in love with and enthralled with a beautiful woman inside and out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Her inside is beautiful
Yeah.
and her outside is beautiful.
Right.
That's who I see myself with.
Yeah.
The world, or the comment that you made,
Mm-hmm.
people that's maybe like yourself, you may see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
The world sees it that way.
Yeah.
If they do,
Right.
or much of the world, I should say.
Yeah.
That's on them, not on me.
Yeah. I don't carry that burden.
I'm not buying in.
Yeah.
I don't sell it as such. I don't see it as such, and I don't live it as such.
And what happened?
So I can't answer that. You're gonna have to find someone that lives that paradigm because I don't.
What
What do you think?
Well, they think about it more than we do.
Right, exactly. That's my point. But what do you think about how I responded to this guy?
You know what? I told you I would have responded the same way. And that's the difference is that I think that people have again their limitations.
Exactly, and come back to what I said earlier.
Their limitations.
We are all one people,
Yeah.
living the same life.
Right.
And your perspective of it is your choice, not
yeah.
mine.
And again, it doesn't mean that we ignore anything else, right?
No.
And here's a thing that I want everybody listening to this to understand. And it hasn't changed since the 60s. It hasn't changed since slavery. If you really, really study slavery and you study our history and you study everything that's not in the history books, guess what? There are a group of people who are racist. There's another group of people who are much larger who don't want to get involved.
That's right.
The group that does not want to get involved, right? They're standing by and they're saying, I don't want none of that. I don't want
Right.
to talk about that.
Right.
But then you got another group on the other side that's saying, well, I hate the racist people.
Right.
So the issue is that you got this group of people who are controlling the narrative who are very, very small. Believe it or not, they're very, very small.
Right.
Even if you watch a movie like Mississippi Burning,
Right.
and you watch that most of the people in the town, they're hiding behind the curtain.
Right.
They're closing their
Right.
doors.
Right.
As brutality is happening, they're turning their heads. Then you got a small group of people who are standing out there and watching it going, yeah, kill him, kill him, kill him.
Right.
But then you got a bunch of people who are standing out there and they're burning their stuff and mad because of what's going on. So you have a small group of people who are
Right.
controlling the narrative, and shame on us
Right.
as a human race to allow a small group of people to control the narrative.
You're spot on
Shame
with what
on
you're
us.
saying. What's the name of the lady that plays Cookie in? I can't think of her name right now.
Empire.
In Empire.
Oh yeah.
What's the
Taraji
mo-
P. Henson.
What's the movie she was just in? Similar to Mississippi
I know. I
Burning.
can't remember the name of it, but I know
The
what you're talking about.
astronauts. Hidden
No,
Figures?
not Hidden Figures.
Yeah,
It's
I know what you're talking about.
I can't think of the name of the
remember
movie,
it, yeah.
but there's this Caucasian guy that was the leader of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yep.
And when they started all that stuff, this is all based on a true story.
Yeah.
Not only did he get to the side where you said where he's not just standing one hate kill,
Mhm.
or saying I don't want any of this. He actually got involved and helped change a
Yeah.
lot of segregation laws
Yeah.
and so forth. And I can't even think of the name of the movie right now.
Yeah.
I just saw it not too long ago.
And that's the thing, Jess, is that we, you know, and this book just opened the door. This one gave me the permission to have conversations with black and white people and saying, watch what happened
Right.
and correct whatever post-traumatic slave syndrome is. We can change those behaviors based on how we act,
Right.
and based on how we handle.
And that also touches humility.
Yeah, it touches humility.
So,
Yeah, all the way.
what's the
Doing
second
Business
book?
by the Good Book is really a book of integrity. David L. Stewart, yeah, it's a little beat up. You see how beat up it
That's
is?
okay. That means he's
David-
using it.
David, with Worldwide Technologies, just went over $10 billion last year as a company, as a corporation.
Okay.
African American male, talks about the trials and tribulations of being a black male in the
Okay.
technology field in the 1970s.
Wow.
Right? But he said his biggest opposition in this book, he said, my biggest opposer were people who look like me.
Wow.
They were trying to tell me I did not belong.
Because they said you don't fit there, you don't
You don't
belong.
fit.
And who were they to say?
And based on their limitations.
Again.
So he gave me the permission to be an entrepreneur, have a succession plan, and be okay with it.
Because he rose above all of that
He rose
noise.
above. And he has 52. Tiara and I have been reading and studying. Every week we take a lesson out of his book
Wow.
of success, and we read it together.
Wow. Awesome.
You know?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so this next one?
This one is a history of Christianity in Africa,
There it
because
is.
there's some confusion as to, you know, is Christ, where is all this happening, right? If you go through the history of the Bible, most of these things are happening on what continent?
In Africa, you think?
In Africa.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so there's another book that I've read called Papers in African Psychology. I didn't bring that one with me, by Naim Akbar. Naim Akbar was another guy that was at this conference I was telling you about with 100 Black Men. And what he talks about is, hey, do you realize how the media has really played on the mentality of African Americans, how the media will tell you that every African walks around in loincloth and can't speak any other language but
Right.
Right?
Right.
This tells a lot of stories about Christians who were in Africa, and even the journey that Jesus took in Africa, right? Because when you look at, because sometimes people think Jewish people all look like the Jews in New York,
Right. That's not
right?
true.
Jewish people look
Right.
like me and you too,
Right.
And Lisa too,
Right.
So we, to your point, think about Malcolm X's trip to Mecca
Right.
and how he said, "Oh wow, I thought all Muslims were black
Right.
until I went to Mecca
Right.
and realized that the world is bigger than Harlem."
Exactly. Well said.
Right?
Yeah.
So this opens you up a little bit.
Yeah, in this history of Christianity in Africa, there was a book there was a Canadian that turned me on the Bible in the early days, in the slave days.
Mhm.
They took all the parts. Do you know what I'm saying? They took all those parts out that was what the Bible truly was about, so that they could manifest slavery. So they didn't want the black people reading in there the sins against this kind of stuff. And I got that from a Canadian. He turned me on to that Bible. He shows you passages
Well, you know why?
from that Bible
Yeah.
that they gave to black people that wasn't really the official Bible.
Yeah, remember Canadians that was the promised land for most slaves.
Yes,
that's
that's
where
true.
Harriet Tubman was running
true.
the railroad, right?
That's true.
And that's the thing that this is a great discussion, because people don't have that history. They don't have that.
I was
historical
blown away. I
context.
learned
Yeah.
this maybe a month ago.
Wow, pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it was way
Yeah.
cool. So the next one, Disciplines of a Godly Man.
Okay, I'm just gonna give you that. I know we're running out of time a little bit, but I'm gonna give you this real quick. I was sitting on the couch after my father passed away, a year after my father passed away, visiting my mom, and God spoke to me and said, "Hey, I need you to go to a bookstore and get a book on manhood that will help you understand what your father's been saying for all this time.
Right.
So we were sitting on the couch, and I called my brother-in-law, who's a pastor. I said, hey, where is there a Christian bookstore? Me and my mom drove from Brooklyn to Queens. We went into this bookstore. I said, where are your Christian books, your literature? And we went to the back, and two books were, this book and another book was sitting out like this. I grabbed this book, started reading it. I took a picture of it, sent it to my pastor, Pastor Fowler. Pastor Fowler's a great book. When I read this book, Jesse, I gotta tell you, this is an amazing guide on what a man is supposed to do. When we say we don't know what to tell men,
Right.
discipline of marriage.
Wow.
Right. So this has, you see, I beat this one up too. You
Right.
know, I'm reading these books.
Right.
It's really, really
It's tattered. You can tell.
very tattered. So I try to tell my sons, I said, hey, don't listen to me. How about this? How about discipline in relationships?
Right.
How about discipline in your soul? That's your
Right.
mind, devotion, prayer, worship. How about discipline in your character, integrity, tongue, work, perseverance? How about discipline in your ministry?
Right.
All of the disciplines of a godly man outlined in this book by Kent Hughes gives me who I am. It really brought all of the stories from my father, and my father was talking about race and culture and all those things.
And it could do this. I could do this for others too.
Yes.
Others that take up this book as a
Yeah.
recommendation from you. This
Yeah.
could serve them and the people that they know that they serve as well.
And I'm gonna tell you one quick thing about that book. It actually goes against everything we were taught. Be a man.
I'm not surprised.
Be a man, Jesse.
What does that
Stop
mean?
crying.
Right.
Don't you ever get in touch
Right.
with your emotions.
Right.
That book says that's all wrong.
I've always believed that.
It's all wrong. So that book tells me that.
Little boys do this, little girls do that.
Right.
No, that's not true.
That's not true.
Those are what I call false limiting beliefs.
Yep.
You were taught that as part of your belief system. It's not true.
And you're conditioned
false
that
limiting
way.
beliefs. In fact, we need to do a program on false limiting beliefs.
Write it down.
False
Let's
limiting
do it.
beliefs. I'm
I love
going to write that down.
Look at this guy. He always comes up with some new topics.
So,
So I love my brother from Hawthorne.
well, quite frankly, Hawthorne School, but nothing like Bed-Stuy.
Do or die.
But no, Lisa is the one with the jewels with coming up with this sort of stuff. But here's what I want to close with. I want to close with this. Is short. Tell us in short how you will manifest this thing called humble to a fault. What will you do to upgrade or up-level your space? I'll answer too, but you answer first. What will you do to upgrade and up-level your space so others can hear that you're doing the work too?
I am going to allow people to tell that story and allow them to use me to tell that story without being resistant.
Oh,
I will let it go. I will use it as a strength and not a weakness.
fair enough. That's good. That's applaudable. Thank you. That's good. Actually, I'm very similar to mine. I would say that I'm going to listen to the Lisa Farrells of the world and the people that she brings into our space and get out there and allow others to champion our cause with a broader voice than I've ever had before and move away from the wall of humility, not 100% because it is part of who I am as well, but have a time and timing game where there are times I need to step my game up. And maybe I'm not the face of a Tony Robbins, but the voice and the power that he also has as well.
Yeah.
But I can't do that from the office.
Right.
I got to do that out there in the
Yep.
world.
Yep.
So
Yep.
those of you listening, those are tips from both Shondell and myself. And just say this was a great program. And I'm going to have Lisa speak loudly when she says this because we know that building relationship equity with your marriages, with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your children, your family, your best friends, work. We know that one of the best ingredients to the best, most successful relationships and the best way to lead people is to consider what?
It's all about how you leave them feeling.
There it is.
That's it, Lisa. You got it.